My name is Steve Wenick, and I volunteered to do this interview because I thought it might be interesting to bring World War II to your audience from the perspective of a second grader. I was 7 years old, and I have some vivid memories that I thought might be interesting. I remember going to school and dragging a wagon behind me, and it was piled with newspapers. And we also carried boxes of bottle caps and tin cans, and these were all used as part of the war effort to recycle material for the war effort. Also, in our classrooms, we were encouraged to purchase stamps, and these little stamps were put into booklets. And the booklets, once they were full, could be traded in for a war bond. And this was an ongoing activity of ours. My dad and I took part in the Victory Garden program. We planted tomatoes, cucumbers, radishes, and a variety of other vegetables so that we could participate, as civilians in the home front in supporting our troops in the war. I know some of the older kids were sending victory mail letters. These were letters that were sent to the troops overseas. One of my earlier impressions of my family was I had several uncles in the service, but one came home and he was bandaged on his face and his hands, and I looked at him and he said, "No, look at this," and he pointed and he had a Purple Heart. So he was, that really impressed me, and I'm very proud of that. Also, in school, we were, every day we had the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and we sang the Star Spangled Banner. Things were very patriotic then. If you would go to the cinema, to the movie, they would always have newsreels. In fact, I told my daughter about it, and she said, "Well, didn't you have TV?" I said, "Well, I don't think they had it back then." So every week, if you would go to the movie, you would get a war update on the newsreels. There were air raid drills. We called them blackouts. And the reason we called them blackouts, every house had to shut all their lights at the sound of a siren, and they would cover their windows with sheets, and you were allowed one range or stovetop burner to stay on, so there would be enough light to navigate around the kitchen area. I remember that there was a placard or a stand on the corner house of my block. I lived in a row house in Philadelphia. And in that stand, there was a listing, they posted all the names of the servicemen that died in action from the area. And I also remember vividly that those who were serving, those families had a special star and flag on their door. It was called the Son in Service flag, I think. I do remember air raid warden boxes, or they had the air raid wardens, and then they had these big boxes where they stored shovels, blankets, helmets, and other items. And these were very impressionable to a young kid growing up, and I still remember it. There was the rationing of food. In our class, we had one kid that was the son of a butcher, and there was a girl who was the daughter of a gasoline station owner. Then they were the two most popular kids. You couldn't get meat, and you couldn't get fuel oil. One of the songs that I do remember from that era is Rosie the Riveter, and I can hear it to this day. And that song was really a tribute to the women who took the place of the men that were serving abroad. Although women were serving abroad, the vast majority were men. I would say that they're probably the most vivid memories. There was just a general feeling of general spirit in the land of patriotism, which I really don't see or haven't seen ever since the Second World War. But hopefully in the future we don't have any wars anyway, so just be patriotic on its own.